Welcome to the Grimdark Book Club, where we explore the vast and often brutal world of Warhammer 40,000 fiction. I'm Harkon Gravel, and today we're diving into the first book in the beloved Gaunt's Ghosts series by Dan Abnett, First and Only. This novel introduces us to Colonel Commissar Abram Gaunt and the Tanith First and Only, a regiment of soldiers known for their stealth, reconnaissance skills, and unwavering loyalty, even in the face of overwhelming odds.
I'm Mina Song, Sergeant in the Caden 43rd Steel Sabres, and I'm excited to discuss this one. The Gaunt's Ghosts series is a fan favorite for a reason. It's known for its gritty realism, complex characters, and explorations of the moral dilemmas soldiers face in the 41st millennium.
Absolutely. And First and Only really sets the stage for the epic saga that unfolds throughout the series. It's a gripping blend of military action, political intrigue, and character-driven drama that showcases the best of what Warhammer 40K fiction has to offer.
You're so right, Harkon. So let's start with the basics. Who are the Tanith First and Only, and what makes them unique in the Imperial Guard? The Tanith, as they're often called, are a regiment raised from the planet Tanith, a world known for its dense forests and a culture that emphasizes stealth and woodcraft. Tragically, their homeworld is destroyed by Chaos forces shortly after the regiment is formed, leaving them stranded and without a home. Talk about starting off on a bleak note.
They become known as Gaunt's Ghosts because they are essentially men without a world, haunted by the loss of their home. This shared trauma bonds them together and fuels their determination to fight for the Imperium, even though they have nothing left to fight for but each other and the memory of their lost planet. That's a powerful theme that runs throughout the series, the idea of soldiers fighting for an empire that often seems indifferent to their sacrifices, driven by a sense of duty and loyalty that transcends personal loss and hardship.
And that's something Abnett really captures well in his portrayal of the Tanith. They're not superhuman warriors or genetically engineered killing machines like some other Imperial Guard regiments. They're ordinary men thrust into extraordinary circumstances, relying on their skills, courage, and the bonds of brotherhood to survive. So, let's talk about the plot of First and Only. The novel is divided into 5 parts, each focusing on a different campaign or conflict that the Tanith are involved in. What were some of the highlights that stood out to you?
Well, the opening chapters set the stage for the series by introducing us to Gaunt and the Tanith as they participate in a siege on the icy world of Voltimand. We see their skills in stealth and reconnaissance as they infiltrate enemy lines and gather intelligence, but we also see the political tensions within the Imperial Guard, particularly the rivalry between Gaunt and Colonel Draker Flentz, a Jantine officer who views the Tanith with contempt.
This rivalry becomes a recurring element in the series and adds another layer of complexity to the conflicts the Tanith face. And that tension is really amplified when the Ghosts are deployed to Fortis Binary, a vital Forge world overrun by chaos-worshipping workers known as the Shriven. The descriptions of Fortis Binary are amazing. It's a world of sprawling factories, towering silos, and relentless industrial activity, all twisted and corrupted by the influence of chaos.
Yes, and the fighting on Fortis Binary is some of the most intense and brutal in the novel. We see the Tanith pushed to their limits as they face wave after wave of fanatical enemies, including Chaos Space Marines of the Iron Warriors Legion.
Iron Warriors. Those guys are hardcore. Definitely not an enemy you want to face in close combat. But amidst the carnage and bloodshed, we also see moments of heroism, sacrifice, and the enduring strength of the Tanith's brotherhood.
One of my favorite aspects of First and Only is the way Abnett introduces us to the individual members of the Tanith. There's Colonel Colum Corbeck, Gaunt's second in command, a gruff but dependable veteran who always has his colonel's back.
Then there's Major Elam Ron, a skilled but ambitious officer whose loyalty to Gaunt is sometimes questionable. And we can't forget young Bryn Milo, the regimental mascot who seems to have an uncanny knack for intuition and sensing danger.
Right. And, along with a number of Gaunt's ghosts, each of these characters has their own backstory, motivations, and struggles, which makes them feel so much more real and relatable. Abnett doesn't just throw names at us. He gives us fully fleshed out individuals who we come to care about.
And their relationships with each other, the banter, the rivalries, the moments of camaraderie, all add so much depth to the story. It's what makes the Gaunt's Ghosts series so compelling. It's not just about epic battles and explosions. It's about the human cost of war and the bonds that hold these soldiers together.
But let's not forget the political intrigue that runs through the novel. After Fortis Binary, the ghosts are granted shore leave on the pleasure world of Pyrites, and that's where things take a darker turn.
Gaunt receives a cryptic message from an old friend, Farid, a member of the Imperial Intelligence Network, warning him of a dangerous conspiracy within the Sabbat World's Crusade High Command. It turns out Gaunt has stumbled upon a plot involving the recovery of a mysterious crystal containing information about a hidden STC, a repository of ancient technology that could shift the balance of power in the Sabbat World's crusade. Suddenly, the ghosts find themselves caught in a deadly game of espionage and betrayal, hunted by assassins seeking to retrieve the crystal.
And Gaunt, the soldier who just wants to lead his men and fight for the Emperor, is forced to navigate the treacherous waters of imperial politics, relying on his wits and the loyalty of his ghosts to survive. It's a brilliant twist that adds another dimension to the story. We see Gaunt's character tested in ways we haven't seen before. He has to make difficult choices, question his loyalties, and ultimately confront the corrupting influence of power within the Imperium itself. Speaking of corrupting influence, we have to talk about the character of Inquisitor Haldane, a truly sinister figure who works behind the scenes to manipulate events in favor of Lord General Dravera. His interrogation of Colonel Flentz is one of the most chilling scenes in the novel.
Definitely not someone you'd want to cross. Haldane represents the darker side of the Imperium, the willingness to use any means necessary, even psychic torture and manipulation, to achieve their goals. He serves as a stark reminder that the enemies of the Imperium are not always the ones on the other side of the battlefield. And that's a theme that runs throughout the Gaunt's Ghosts series, the idea that the Imperium, for all its might and supposed righteousness, is often its own worst enemy. That makes the Ghosts' struggle all the more meaningful. They're fighting not just for the survival of the Imperium, but for its soul, for the ideals that it was supposed to represent.
So, what are your final thoughts on First and Only? What would you say to listeners who are considering picking up this book?
I would say, without hesitation, that First and Only is a must-read for any fan of Warhammer 40,000 fiction. It's a gripping and emotionally resonant story that introduces us to one of the most beloved regiments in the Imperial Guard. Abnett's writing is excellent. He balances action, suspense, and character development masterfully. It's a great starting point for the Gaunt's Ghosts series, but it also stands on its own as a powerful and thought-provoking story about war, loyalty, and the human cost of conflict.
Well said. And on that note, we'll wrap up this episode. This episode has been brought to you by Grim Dark Goods, where all the enemies of the Emperor shop. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next Grim Dark Book Club.